right, hello. Welcome to the Mediaverse Studios podcast. We have a very special episode today. We are at the Cedar Rapids Independent Film Festival. We are covering this festival out in the main lobby at the Collins Road Theater, and we are also doing some podcasting here for some of the filmmakers attending. So right now we have Tony Cross with us right across the table, and we're going to start kicking things off with him. How you doing tonight, Tony?
I'm good. Second time doing a podcast, so I'm a little nervous, but and also my third festival experience. So again, it's exciting stuff. I'm really excited. I can't wait. I'm enjoying the films I've seen so far, and it's just incredible to actually meet these filmmakers and sort of make connections. And yeah, exciting stuff.
Yeah, we love this festival, man. Okay, so let's get started with just kind of introduce yourself, kind of give us some of your background, where you're coming from as a filmmaker.
All right, so here's the deal. I never went to film school, but I always tried. Well, not that I haven't succeeded. I just kind of haven't really pulled the trigger on that yet. But I'm still very, I've always been infatuated with film, and ever since I was like 7 or 8, I had a VHS camera, and I would just make random little short films. I think the first short film I ever did was like this little Star Wars thing with like these clone trooper figures. This is when the prequels were still new. So I took these, stormtrooper figures, put it in the middle of my carpet, pretended it was the desert, and then I pretended my arm was like this giant sandworm, and it just gobbled the stormtrooper, clone trooper up, and just pulled away. That was my first short film. It was this goofy little thing with Star Wars figures. So that sort of gives you an idea of my background, I guess, as far as,
Well, it's amazing to see how much Star Wars has influenced filmmakers. Several of our guests on the podcast say they were directly influenced by Star Wars. That's why they wanted to be a filmmaker. And so it's just interesting how they cite different resources.
I would go as far as to say that's probably one of the most formative films for a lot of filmmakers, because it's one of those films that hits them at the right age when they're young enough that it just captures their imagination. I don't think there's any other film series or just movie in general that captures what a kid wants to see, like as far as like it just captures the scope of their imagination in a way that very few movies have since. And honestly, to this day, it's like even the original trilogy, sure, the effects, they're of their time, but they still have a sort of sense of imagination and whimsy, and they're just incredible movies. And they I feel like just saying Star Wars is incredible, every filmmaker says that, of course, but
so where are you from, man?
So I was born in Moline. I grew up in the Quad Cities, Rock Island, and I've kind of stayed there most of my life. I've moved around, I guess, early in my life. My memory doesn't go as far back to remember when I lived in Georgia, but apparently I lived down there for a while. So, just bounce between, just QCs mainly where I've been. So
cool.
Yeah.
So what are you showing at CRIFF this time?
So this year I brought a little movie called Origin Point. It's a very sincere sort of love letter to sci-fi movies. I would consider 3 different eras specifically, the 50s, 60s, sort of the earlier era of sci-fi where you got movies like Day of the Earth Stood Still, not Close Encounters, it's a little later, War of the Worlds, and sort of those movies. Again, they're considered B movies, but as I pointed out earlier, they're really, that's just, it has this negative connotation, but they're sort of like, they handled very heavy thematic things in a way that I think still holds true today and still has resonance today, despite, their ability, their special effects not really quite grasping it. It's one of those things where it's sort of the reach exceeded their grasp a little bit, but they still managed to pull off a lot with what they had at the time. And and if nothing else, at least the effects and whatnot, it was all on camera. It was all like models and stuff. So that sort of era of sci-fi, the earlier sort of B-movie era, if you will. Then I would say the Spielberg era, which is like Close Encounters, E.T., and then Star Wars. That certainly had an influence on the project. That sort of era where it was more, there's more of an innocence to it, and sort of sense of, it captured the sense of awe and wonder, of that sort of those heavy concepts. I think that was when the effects were starting to catch up a little bit more to the vision of sci-fi, what the filmmakers wanted to go for. And then of course, like I would say the more modern era, which is like from the 90s till now, like the X-Files and Signs and movies like that, which are more thrillers, but like, and this is the era where I think we really captured. Our ability to visualize our concepts really caught up to that. So
So what can we expect from your movie?
I think from my movie, there is just a lot of it's a very sincere and earnest sort of. It pays a lot of tribute to a lot of those older sci-fi movies, and in different ways. I mean, some of them are just like very not gonna lie, but some of it's kind of on the nose. But there are definitely a lot of like influences. It has a little bit of like Star Trek, Star Wars, and I think what people can expect from my movie is it captures that sort of purity and innocence from the 80s and 90s or earlier on with sci-fi, while also being more modern with maybe a little bit of a thriller edge in certain areas and just sort of that blending of tones and genres. So it's kind of a splat. It's just a big splat of like ideas that I've had for sci-fi for a long time.
So what are your filmmaking goals?
What I strive towards as a filmmaker is to try to have a definitive voice of some kind, whether it's through camera work or in the writing. I'm one of those filmmakers that sort of wears all hats, as most indie filmmakers do.
Sure.
We wear multiple hats. We write the movies, we direct them, we even act in them. Quite literally, anytime I wasn't behind the camera working on this movie, I was in front of it. I was acting. I was doing as much as I could to pull this together.
Right.
So as a filmmaker, I like dabbling in all areas of filmmaking in some way, just to sort of have some experience or some know-how in case there comes a time where maybe I need to try to assert myself and try to put my own influence on it. And I think that's my thing as a filmmaker, is just try to find my voice. And the more projects I do like this, the more I feel confident in my ability to express myself and share my vision with everyone. So
I love it, man.
Thank
Well,
you.
congrats on the film.
I appreciate it.
Can't wait to see it.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah,
Enjoy the
exciting,
festival, man.
exciting. You too, man. Thank you.
All right, next up we have Dillon Jacobson. Dillon is from the Des Moines area, and we've worked with him a little bit in the past, and we're just very grateful to have him on the podcast right now. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing really good. How about yourself?
Not too bad, man. So why don't you give us a little bit of your background story? What's your where you're coming from as a filmmaker?
Yeah, so basically, I got my start in filmmaking through the Iowa High School Speech Association.
Sweet.
I made a bunch of short films through there, a bunch of little things, some of which I guess I'm still proud of. And then from there, it just kind of built up. I got my start in actual like efforts in filmmaking with like more than just an iPhone or just a tiny little kit lens thing with through the 48-hour film project through Des Moines.
Oh yeah.
Where I met a bunch of people. I met you guys through that, and it's yeah. And I'm a why do I always freeze up like this? All right.
You could breathe.
Yep. All good. I'm a student at the University of Iowa through cinematic arts. I'm in my final semester. Actually, I think final month officially. Yes, including finals week. So
Awesome.
which is exciting and scary. I know I need to get out of the classroom, but I don't want to. I guess I don't want to. I got to deal with the responsibilities of adult stuff, and I just can't make fun movies all the time.
Oh, don't we wish we all could? So what are you showing at CRIFF this weekend?
I am showing Genesis, which is a soundscape that I made for a sound design class through the University of Iowa,
cool.
actually just this past fall semester.
Right.
So yeah, it was.
So is it a storyline, or is it mostly like a music video, or what are we working with here?
It's sort of it's an experimental soundscape which it follows the chronology of the creation story out of the Book of Genesis in the Holy Bible.
No kidding.
So yeah, it's sort of it ramps up as the days goes on, because you start out with like let there be light, and then you got the earth and water and stuff, and then you start getting animals and people, and it's just like all these like just layers of sound that just stack on top of each other and just kind of make this really big sonic rise.
Wow.
And it's really something.
Cool. I can't wait to check that one out. So what are your kind of goals as a filmmaker?
My goals as a filmmaker is I just want to make movies. I just want to just that's the bottom line. Just make movies for hopefully the rest of my life or the rest of my working life. Professionally, I've been really getting into cinematography and sound design.
Okay.
So
Great.
I can, I'd be happy just basically waking up at like 5 a.m. every single day, going to a film set, maybe even 4 a.m. I don't know, and just micing people up, pulling focus, stuff like that. Just working
That's the good
sets
stuff, right?
all
Just
day,
the-
every day.
Yeah.
Just do all the that super cool stuff, or even just sitting in an editing bay, just working with audio and video, all the fun stuff that I think every filmmaker really wants to do at heart. Yeah, it's,
Some people get it to, you know, that's their full-time thing or that's their livelihood, and then they start to resent it. But yeah, that is, for me, that's the really fun work, is just you know, just doing those reps. So what kind of stories do you like to tell?
I really like to tell more muted and nuanced stories, which sounds very pretentious because it is.
Okay.
But I think the biggest creative I guess sort of facet that I've really tapped into is experiences from my youth, and
Sure.
I mean I'm still in my formative years, but
Yeah.
it's I'm on the tail end of it, so I feel like a retrospective look back is something I can still do.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not a big fan of making super big flashy things, mostly because I don't really know how to make them.
All right.
But also, I think there's an element of subjectivity that I really like to portray on screen whenever I can, and doing that through I guess more complicated narratives is something that I really like to do. One thing that I keep on like finding myself doing is having a sort of, I guess, a wisdom-seeking figure, or just people that are kind of lost in the world, or maybe they don't know exactly, like they might know what they want to do, but they don't know how to do it,
Right.
and they're just, I guess, navigating the world as I'm also navigating the world, as we're all navigating this weird thing that we call life, and that's a super long-winded way of saying I like to make dramas
Gotcha.
with
Fair enough.
with an edge of comedy. So yeah,
I like that. Yeah, I've seen some of your films, and they definitely hold those tones, and I really appreciate them.
yeah.
All right, man. Well, that's all the time we're going to have for this, but I really appreciate you coming on, and good luck with the rest of the festival.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good
Right.
luck yourself.
Okay, next up we have Jason Cox. Jason is a filmmaker that is going to be sharing his film Outlaws with us. And how you doing tonight, Jason?
I'm good, buddy. How you doing?
Good, man. Where you from?
Originally from Utah. Me and my wife have been in Iowa for 10 years.
All right.
So
what brought you here?
My wife got a job at Iowa State.
Okay.
And because I've been in video production, I just kind of could go wherever
Nice.
she went. So that was nice.
That's awesome. What's
yeah.
kind of your background in filmmaking?
I went to college started out in business.
Okay.
And then I went into English. And then my junior year, I dropped out.
Okay.
Because of an English teacher, and he was he read my stuff, and he was like, you write like very visually. Have you ever thought about like writing screenplays or like doing movie stuff? And
No
I
kidding.
didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can do that. And so because I'd already been doing it as a kid, like making little movies with like my guinea pig and my little sister, and we
Right.
like use action figures and stuff. So I was like, I should look into that. And the college I was going to in Utah didn't have a film school. And since I've been doing it with my friends anyway, and I didn't really love where I was heading, I kind of just dropped out and was like, I'm just going to start doing this.
Right.
And so been doing it ever since.
Wow.
I had a video production company in Utah, tried to keep it alive when I moved here.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't do a great job because I didn't.
Sure.
My crew was gone, so I was like starting over from scratch. So the last 2-3 years, I've been really focusing on just doing my own film stuff.
Nice.
So yeah.
Nice. So on that note, your film Outlaws is here
Yes.
at CRIFF.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, this is I mean, as you know, I shot a movie and I've got 2 projects out of it. So this is the longer version is going to be called Blood and Dust, and it's more inspired by this poem that Outlaws is. So Outlaws is the poem, and it was I got stuck in a rut editing. Jake is my colorist, so he knows my stuckness. I did this as an exercise just to see if I had all the shots.
Right.
So I was just like kind of put it together. I had my wonderful lead actress, Patricia Hawley, just like I called her up and said, "Hey, can you record this voice? Just record the poem like you would as Bonnie." And she sent it back, and I just kind of put it together. And then my wife is the one that saw it and was like, "What? Just do this. Like, what is this? Is great." And I was like, and I just kind of put it on the back burner. And then now it's festival season, so I was like, well, I'm still trying to put together the 15-minute long version. And I was just like, I'll just throw this in there, and here I am.
Give us some context on what the story is, because it's really cool.
Yeah, it's based off of a poem by Whitney Montgomery from the 50s. I think he was a kid in the 30s, and he saw Bonnie and Clyde's car. He's a poet from Texas. He started the Texas Society of Poetry or whatever. Okay. And he kind of wrote this thing of that. The story is Clyde Barrows kind of pretty much sees the ghost of Billy the Kid, and they kind of chat up. He just kind of warns him like, "They got me, they'll get you," and that's it. Mm-hmm. It's like a little short, sweet little poem. And I'm growing up as a huge Billy the Kid nerd, and I had a buddy. We were shooting a music video in Texas, and I got this kid from Iowa State named Christopher Wayne Grimm as my actor, and we kind of shot from Iowa to Texas. And as we were driving, because that's a long drive, and we're going on back roads, so it took us like 5 days, because we were going on like 69 to we were all over the place. And he was like a huge Bonnie and Clyde nerd. And he was like, "I want to stop at all of these Bonnie and Clyde spots." And in those convos, he was like, "Check out this poem." And that's what kind of triggered it. Wow. And so like it's been like 6 years in the making to like get this bad boy going. So
wow.
There we are.
That's great. I'm excited for everyone to see this one, because I've seen it, and I'm just kind of blown away by it. Just the editing and
thank you, sir.
And just the tone that it sets is really cool, and it tells a really unique story. Yeah,
it's definitely a what they call it, a tone poem.
It is,
and they both will be. Even the longer one's going to be even like it's not. I wouldn't call this your like a narrative structure.
No, right. It's not strictly narrative, but it is. It does have that. Oh, it has texture. That's what I like to say about
gritty.
it.
It's a little gritty. Yeah.
Yeah. And just as a feeling, it's got this very like textural feel. Anyways, so what are kind of your goals as a filmmaker then going forward?
Well, that's a good question, buddy. I want to be just a director. Like, I want to do my own stuff, but I've been so involved with this storytelling of Bonnie and Clyde that I'll probably even take it. I want to do it as a feature.
Yeah.
But not so much as this poem will be like a centerpiece of it, because I think it's a really important piece. But they were in Iowa, and like just in all of my studying, I've learned so much, and I've been a lot of help from some local historians and stuff. They've taken me through. I've gone to like shootout spots in Dexter. And I've walked all their paths, and I've learned so much about them. I've like read like 10 books on these bastards.
Wow.
And so like I'm just like, with all that knowledge, like why don't I not just tell the story of them in Iowa? I mean, I'm not gonna get into the shootings in Missouri or who they didn't kill or their famous deaths. I just want this dirty part of their thing in Iowa. I think that'd be cool.
I like that.
So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Dang. Well, I can't wait to see that come together. That's just really fun. Yeah. But yeah, the film's Outlaws, and keep an eye out for Blood and Dust.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot, man. Have a good festival.
Thanks, brother.
Peace. All right, and we are back with Joey Loboda, Landon Sheetz, the Poltergeist, the funny people from Not Good Not Bad Productions.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Good to be here.
Yeah. Well, we've talked to you guys before on the podcast, but give us
Sorry about that.
we'll
be good this time.
Give us an update on what you guys are up to these days.
Oh my goodness. Well, we're still working on Poltergeist. Finishing it up. I know Landon here's been hard at work.
That's right.
Getting the footage all ready for us. So that's going to be 7 full episodes coming somewhere streaming. With the word around town is Tubi. So get your free account set up, and pretty soon you'll be able to watch the Poltergeist with all your friends. What else?
I'm currently acting in a film called 5683 in conjunction with Mediaverse and the Sin Tree film family, and I feel so blessed to have been adopted into the film family. Right?
Papers are still going
There's
through
still,
the,
yeah,
through,
yeah.
but,
There's a
it's
lot of
happening.
paperwork and a whole court process, but that is a romantic comedy that's female-led cast, female director, very funny script. I'm so happy to be involved in a comedy being made in Iowa because there's not enough comedy being attempted in Iowa, and I'm done. I'm done with everything else.
Yeah.
So yeah, happy to be doing that.
Yeah, so Landon's done with everything else. Me, I had a small part in the same film.
That's true.
But then we've got a couple other things coming up with you, right? A couple small things here and
Little
there.
things here
You'll
and
see us
there.
popping up in a few films this summer, right?
Yeah.
And then we've got a few things of our own we're working on, a couple features. So when we're
Nice.
done with you, and we say
No.
good, we shoo you away and say we are not acting for you anymore.
We got to kick you out of the nest sometime.
Yes, we try to fly on our own, and of course, what happens? Fall, break our neck. Die, we lay on the ground. Yeah, so it'll be sad. We'll apologize to you profusely, and you
I
will.
will think about accepting it.
So that's what's up.
So what are you guys showing here at CRIFF?
Well, we've got Friendly Faces, which is mainly it's Keaton Fuller's baby, we'd say.
Yeah.
Created it, directed it, produced it. Landon is one of the co-stars,
Yes, it's true.
and so Landon's great in that. And God, if I could just speak.
Joey's in it too. He pops up, and we directed one of the episodes. Friendly Faces is a 8-part.
You directed an episode.
Joey and I co-directed.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Which one?
Episode 2.
Okay.
Pucker Up. And it's a 8-episode series that is showing here as one full sort of combined the whole shebang. But
Yeah.
hopefully eventually it will be on some streaming platforms so you can all see it. But yeah, it's
Nice.
essentially a comedy drama series kind of set in a cartoon world where friends learn authenticity and deal with emotions in a fun but cathartic kind of way.
Couldn't we use a little more of that, Jake, in our films?
I feel like we need more feels.
Yeah,
we all
we
just
do
need
need
some
more
feels.
feels.
Just like get really deep down in there.
And these are what, 10, 12 minutes?
Yeah.
That's why when we say they're showing them all together, you're probably like, okay, 8 times 30, that's, it's not 4 hours we're looking at. These are nice little, you're in, you're out, you're crying, you're laughing, you're happy, you're sad.
There is a full range of emotion in these things. Like
Did you see it?
I saw the first episode and like a little bits of the other stuff in and out, but from what I can tell, like the audience reception is just incredible.
People seem to be enjoying
They're
it.
all loving it.
Yeah. And Keaton's great. Keaton's
Yeah,
brilliant. And
I'm talking with Keaton later.
Yeah,
so
that'll
I'm
be
excited
great.
about that.
He'll talk more about the sort of idea behind that, but it was kind of his effort to bring a bunch of maybe disparate filmmakers from Iowa together to have a hand in each episode. But yeah, I think it worked pretty good.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some of the directors, like Bruce Bales,
Yeah.
I believe we've talked to, and Marissa Vonn. So it's like people that we probably don't direct the same as, and they, we're using different gear and stuff, and trying to put our flair into one thing and see how it fits with everyone else.
Interesting.
And I think it worked. Yeah.
Yeah. How does it come across on screen? Is there like a big jump between tone and like technical aspects, or does it kind of like blend well between episodes?
It's surprisingly fluid.
Yeah.
I think that I was worried about that. I think Keaton was worried about that just because it was also shot over 5 years, including like a 2-year hiatus because of the pandemic. So that
Right.
a lot changed. Our actors' weights fluctuated and stuff. Like we physically look different from episode to episode. But luckily, you set something in a sort of hyper real cartoon world. you can get away with stuff like that. So it's
Cool.
not a huge issue. But yeah, I mean, as far as visually, I think Petter, one of the DPs for like half of the episodes, he shot it a certain way, but I think it meshes with the way Bruce shot the other half of the episode.
Cool.
So
Yeah, and
I think it works.
I think because you've got episodes that are a little more comedic, and then the ones that are dealing with some more serious stuff, and he maybe chose people to work on those that, you know, he felt could encapsulate that visually too. It kind of works when you see it shift a little bit tonally and how it looks. Yeah. The tone of like I don't know, what's on screen is also a little different. So it's cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Our episode, we wanted it to be that sort of handheld, almost like 30 Rock or like The Office vibe.
Like that kind of mockumentary.
Yeah, where it's
or,
more, it feels more, and if the episode kind of follows a web or like a YouTube vlogger,
Got
so
it. That makes sense.
we wanted to imitate that, so it looks a little more rough, not literally rough, but it has that more kinetic camera work and stuff, I think. And then other episodes are like a soap opera, so that's all like. But Petter shot both of those, so you know, all these artists can do a lot, and I think it shows a lot of what people from this little old state Iowa can do.
You know, with your jacket and me over here in this microphone, I feel like you're Bruce Springsteen and I'm little Steven, and we're singing into the same mic. Next question.
How's your podcast going?
Oh, it's awesome. We are going along just great.
Yep. We have a comedy-based podcast called Call and Mockery, where you can call in and leave a message, and we will respond to what you said.
Yeah.
And we just kind of talk pop culture, news, etc. And then we have a music review podcast called Earbuds, which has
Love earbuds.
It's had a lot of good responses. Thank you for saying that also. And I don't know, we're getting a lot of good feedback from it. So
Yeah, I think it's a show that really allows the audience to interact with us. People love music, and if they're passionate about a certain artist, basically the conceit is we both love music, but we don't really listen to the same type of music. We sort of have what we call the inverted butt cheek of the Venn diagram of what we like together. Yeah. And then I've got my stuff here and he's got his stuff. So each week it's sort of like he'll bring me something that he likes and we'll review it. Like I'll listen to it for a week and we talk about it. And then I say, you know, based on that, I'm going to bring you this. He might hate it. He might like it. You know.
So is there like a cohesion happening? Is the butt cheek clenching as you guys learn each other's music more?
I think it's spreading.
The butt cheek is getting larger.
Oh, it's inverted. I apologize.
It's inverted.
I had it backwards.
As it expands, we grow our music knowledge together and what we like. Gotcha. But with
I think the cheeks themselves are spreading.
Yeah. Because what is outside of that if the cheeks are inverted?
Yeah, we need to rethink
it's like
whole thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, thank you for bringing that up. But
I'm here to highlight the hot topic issues.
It's more, but we want people to listen to that so they get our take on someone listening to it for the first time.
Yeah.
And then someone who's an old pro for the music that
That's
loves
cool.
the band, and then we do some newer albums too.
Someone left a comment on one of the videos that said, "This is very informative yet also dumb."
Yeah.
And I think that kind of encapsulates what we go for.
A lot of what we do.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, yeah.
Well, cool. That's all the time we're going to have for now, but thanks, guys. and enjoy the
Okay, you said we
festival.
were gonna have an hour, but
Yeah, that's weird.
okay.
I
Thanks.
say
man.
a lot of things. I
Guess he didn't like us
No, that's okay. Whatever.
at all.
Oh, thanks for having us,
Yeah.
and we hope to whatever.
Yeah. Sorry, I guess.
whatever.
No, thank you, Jake.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. All right, so we have with us a trio of filmmakers here. This is the crew of Knee High, and I'm thrilled to just talk with all of you. So can I just go my right to my left? Introduce yourselves, please.
Yes, I almost didn't pick the microphone up. I was like, yes, normal. I'm Marissa Vonn. I wrote and directed the film and produced it.
I'm Michael Ridley. I play Cal Melbourne in the film, and technically, I'm a producer, I guess. Technically.
I'm Bruce James Bales, and I'm the cinematographer and editor and producer on Knee High.
Awesome. So let's just start with, I'm not sure where to start right now. I'm just kind of thrilled to be in front of you guys. So, how are you enjoying the festival so far? Let's go there.
I think Cedar Rapids International Film Festival is near and dear to our hearts because 5 years ago, we premiered the short film version of Knee High to a very incredibly warm reception that I think kind of blew us away, specifically myself because I was the only one that was able to make that.
Right.
It really humbled me in a way that I wasn't expecting, to be taken in by this community of filmmakers and to be appreciated and to be built up in a way that gave me personally a lot of confidence in what I do and what we do as a crew. And so, I mean, it's just really nice to be back here with friendly faces, the series and people who are nice, and just to be back in an environment that really had a big impact on me as a filmmaker.
Awesome.
It's kind of just, I get the easiest job probably of the three of us, because it's like you just get to spend half the time being a cheerleader for all of your peers who made a bunch of things.
Right.
Bruce and our friend Keaton and a few others have a whole myriad of other things that are also in the festival.
Yeah.
And then I think we also got pretty lucky that the audience base for a lot of the films that we've seen so far have just been very, very film curious, which is very fun. And for that and a lot of other reasons, it's very relaxed and very inspiring. Yeah, it's been great so far. Yeah.
This is probably my favorite Iowa festival. Also because it's the first one I've actually gotten to go to. Because with the short, we screened at a handful of them, and I didn't get to go. Bruce had to go and represent us at every festival.
Right.
So this is really special to be here with the feature.
Yeah.
And they did such a, they do their judge talk back. You get to actually talk to the people who watch the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And after the short, I remember talking to Eric and Scott and a couple of other judges, and I was like, I really think I want to make this into a feature.
Oh my God. So if it went black for a second, that's because our camera died, and Bruce, the eagle-eyed cinematographer that he is, noticed the tally light before I did. So
And thank God, too.
Excellent.
Just generally.
Are you rolling right now?
No. It's you're the accountability partner of all of us currently. Yeah.
So on that note, how is the dynamic between director, producer, cinematographer? How do you guys work together? How is the communication? How is the language gone?
I mean, at least for both Bruce and Marissa, and I'll let you guys kind of divulge your own individual perspectives on this, but they communicate probably better than I've seen a director and a DP communicate on any set that I've ever worked on, which is probably why they make everything together. They don't make anything without each other, and you can definitely see why. It's produced a lot of, I would say, the shorthand of their kind of both visual and sensibility type language has produced really incredible art, and also saves a lot of time in making that art, and saves people like me a lot of pain and suffering, because they're very explicit about what they like and what works. And in terms of someone like the way that Marissa writes, for instance, she's very, very good at killing her darlings, and if she writes something that works really well on the page, and we're on set and Bruce shoots it, they're very good at kind of compromising and acknowledging that certain things don't work the way they do on the page very well, and then kind of finding something equally as beautiful but a little bit more practical. And in a really roundabout way of saying it, it's meant a lot to me. It's been great to watch just as a peer, and it's definitely been great to work kind of in the middle of both of them. I say as I sit in the middle of both of them. Yeah.
Awesome. Good.
It's a lot of this. It's a lot of us not actually talking and just weird eye contact, and then a gesture or two, and then
looking at each other's thinking, kind of.
Yeah, look at the monitor, and then it's fixed. It's a little weird at this point.
Definitely wearing a heart on your sleeve.
Yeah. The prep helps a lot, because it's all that stuff gets discussed at length in prep. Every potential option has been discussed, so it's very safe going in. Exactly what you're doing. You can be weird about it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I got.
You got Bruce.
We use this phrase on set a lot. That's same brain. We look at each other and we're like, same brain, because we have the same thoughts.
Are we in agreement here?
Yeah, and well, we just think the same way. And I mean, I liken Marissa more like a sister to me at this point. We have an inherent trust that enables me to never feel like I can't speak up, I can't throw an idea out there. The same with Michael. I think I was so close to Michael on Knee High because I was the cinematographer, and the perspective was so closely tied to Cal that I might notice something and I might bring it to Marissa and say, hey, I noticed this, can we try this? And both her and Michael were probably gave me more grace in that department than they should have, to be completely honest. Right. Because sometimes I'd just go and be like, nope, not working at all. We got to, and Marissa's be like, I know, I'm going to handle it. But it's like fostering an environment where you feel okay to speak up, you feel like you're empowered to speak your mind and to throw out ideas, and that's all Marissa. That's how Marissa's treated me since day one. I told people when we had the Knee High short that Marissa is a forever collaborator for me, and she is. I'll always work with her because she's given me so many opportunities to really like come into my own, and I wouldn't be the cinematographer today if it wasn't for both of them. I mean, I've worked with Michael on 2 features now, with him being the lead in both features, and I have learned an immense amount about the craft of acting and how to best portray that on screen, watching him and working with Marissa. So for me, it's a perfect collaboration.
Yeah. Okay, I want you guys to gush over yourselves for a little bit. So I'm going to start with Bruce. So as a cinematographer, why is Bruce James Bales the best for Knee High? What did you bring to it that was uniquely you, that could not tell the story differently?
That's a really great question. I think the main thing that I thought about in maybe moments when I had doubt about myself and about my abilities is that I tend to think in poetics. I think about what a shot means, what a shot will make someone feel like. And Marissa and I spent a lot of time before we went into production creating rules for ourselves. How are we going to put Cal on screen? What lenses are we going to use? What does that say? What does it say when the camera's closest to Cal? What does it say when Cal's always alone on screen? It's something you might notice in Knee High. When we're in a conversation with Cal and someone else, 90% of the time, Cal's in a single. He's by himself. He's isolated. Wow. And the other person is trying to connect with him, so we'll be over his shoulder, showing that they're trying to connect. But it's not until the end of the film or until he starts being real with himself in front of the other people that he begins to connect with other characters, and then we put them in over the shoulders. There's a lot of flat shots with people looking at each other because there's a lot of conflict in the story. There's a lot of instances where Cal might be a little stubborn. People are trying to get some stuff into his head that they want him to, grow and learn. And so we wanted to show that conflict visually. I can't make films without thinking like that. I have to think like that. And I think Marissa empowered me to be able to think like that and trusted me. And I think, once again, we were on the same page about so much before production that it's just like one of these things that I talk about movie magic, and movie magic, I think, is when everybody in the room is on the same page at the same time and everything comes together. And we had so many instances like that where everything just came together so nicely, and there was like very little struggle, very little conflict in the crew and the cast making this movie, that I just think that we really, jive together and respect each other in a way that enables us to do our best work.
Love that. As an actor, no, it's your turn. you got to
Hello.
go. What did you bring to the story that only you could have done that no one else could have brought as an actor?
I think my answer is a non-answer because I actually don't know quite yet. I do know that it's this was and is kind of a project that the way that it kind of idled in its infancy for a little over 4 years it was the thing I was always looking forward to the most. No matter what I was doing, like what I was reading for, things you really try to get and can't get. It's like, it doesn't matter. If I don't get this, I still have this. I'm going to do Knee High. I'm going to do this film. I have Cal. That's all that matters.
Oh, yeah.
It put a lot into perspective, and I didn't quite understand explicitly why until we started to shoot, where it's kind of an epic that takes place entirely inside someone who is alone a lot of the time, who doesn't speak a lot of the time. And the only time you get to really see the world as he sees it is when he's alone, and you see like, you know, these planes that go on, and like the horizon just, it moves further and further away. Like if you see the film, it really is very broad in that respect. And I think it gave me a lot of clarity as to why like this particular story was so special, just because I can't remember the last time I read a book or saw a film that depended so heavily on you know, an audience member being able to sit in silence with somebody, because it's not comfortable. And I mean, a lot of the feedback we've gotten is that it's like even people that were really uncomfortable with certain like micro conflicts that happen inside Cal, it's like they're like, but they're so vital, they're so important. I felt it so implicitly. He was saying nothing and I felt it, which is really special in my mind. So to answer your question, do I know, is there a specific reason or a specific, like one specific thing that I brought to it that nobody else could have? I don't know. I think that's up to the audience. You can let me know when you see it.
I will.
Yeah.
I will. Yeah. How did you like prepare for the role? What kind of, I don't know, steps did you take to access Cal?
Practically, I read a couple of books specifically on ag in Iowa and the way it's changed from the early 1990s up till now.
Gotcha.
Which, for anyone who's interested, is a really, really heartbreaking isn't the right word, but it's a very painful story for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think for generations of people who have the foundation of their family and their livelihoods are built kind of in the land out here. So much of that was kind of destabilized for them, especially over the last couple of decades or a few decades. And reading that and then understanding via Marissa's script that this is exactly like the family that I read about in those books. It lent a lot of clarity to the macro of what Cal is experiencing, but it also provided a lot of insight into kind of what the stakes are for him, because he's still a very young guy. He wasn't really given the opportunity to decide if he wanted something outside the four walls of his
shouldering
farm.
legacy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He was never, like, the idea was never implanted in him. Maybe you should look into going to college. You know, maybe you should look into moving out of this county. Like, this was always going to be his future, but all of a sudden it's here, and there is no certainty that he will have any kind of success in that future. And like the one person who really taught him all of these things, who laid the groundwork for this to be his future, is now gone by the start of the film. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen it.
Damn it.
Yeah. And so reading those books, reading Marissa's script as it went through draft after draft after draft, really lent a lot to my internal understanding, at least, of what the movie would feel like to make. And then obviously seeing all of Bruce's work and having worked with him a couple times prior, I knew almost immediately from reading the script what he would want it to look like and what Marissa would kind of position him to stage it as. And so, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Again, very long-winded, but
No, I love it. I love it.
And that's the whole podcast. That's Michael's
Oh, my goodness. All right, on to you, Marissa.
which really was a non-answer.
It was an answer. Sort of.
As the writer-director, what did Marissa Vonn bring that no one else could have brought to this story?
I mean, I guess the script.
Well, yeah.
Again, a non-answer. I just showed up with the script and went, hey, what if we made this?
Yeah.
I think really it's the connections, because I could have sold the script. Someone else could have made it. They would have made a different movie.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be this movie. It would be, some other DP, some other gaffer, some other Michael. Like, it wouldn't be this movie. Right. And realistically, they wouldn't have shot where it needed to be shot. It would have been somewhere else.
Yeah.
Somewhere else.
Some field in, southern Canada.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. So I think it's the connections and the connection to the material that I hope I found a way to, like, make everybody else feel the connection to the material that I have, that I was like, I hope other people feel like this and that I'm not just, like, a crazy person.
You wrote that line
between
making it something that's personal and also something that anyone can access.
Yeah, and that was the goal. I think I just brought the connection and the connections to make it
That was deep.
this movie. Wow. Put me in the trash. It's over. That's a wrap. I said one good sentence. Let's go home.
No, I love it because you brought your background, but you also know and have access to people of non-agricultural backgrounds, and you know how to communicate between the two. And I think that's a very unique thing that you could bring.
It's a learning experience for sure. Yeah.
Cool. So what's next for Knee High?
Don't know yet.
Okay.
Don't know yet. There's still like 30 more festivals to hear from. Yeah. We're early in the festival, like
Sure.
notification dates.
What are the hopes for Knee High?
The hopes are screen at a few more festivals and then do a Midwestern theatrical run. So screen all over Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Missouri. I guess we'll go to Nebraska. You know, the Midwest in general, and just that's the people who I want to see it because that's who's going to connect with it the most. And then from there, somewhere where everybody else can see it. That's the goal.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Any funny stories that you guys want to all bring, the stuff that you just like joke about from the...
I mean, to piggyback off of what you said like 15 minutes ago, everything went so smoothly the entire shooting process, both like from a scheduling perspective and just from like a narrative to a thematic perspective. Everything felt smooth sailing, and everyone just had such a wonderful time. And Melissa Keller, who plays Kelsey in the film, this was her first ever film that she'd ever done. She's amazing, by the way.
Wow.
Melissa Keller, incredible. I hope she hears this. And she was having this incredible life-changing experience, and everyone at every turn was just telling her, yeah, like, appreciate this because it's not always going to be like this. Sometimes you're going to be working a lot worse hours than this, and sometimes visions don't gel as well as they did on this. And on one hand, we got to be very, very indulgent in that, and it was just great to relish in it for a little bit, but just so funny that we had to kind of burst that bubble for her. I'm sorry, Melissa.
And now she's worked on other movies. She knows.
Yeah, and now she's on the up and up because she's Mm-hmm.
But funny anecdote. Mm-hmm. All of those things, everything he said is true. The day we wrapped, we did like a quarter day where we went and shot like the truck driving around. We had a meal, play Baby Ben, Baby Avery. Right. We just had him like slouched down in the seat with the hat. It worked. We finished shooting that. Michael and I go to pick up my car because, I don't know, the beginning of week 2, my car broke down in between 2 locations and I just left it there. So we had to go get my car from the middle of truly nowhere. We're driving back towards Madrid to drop off the check at the Williams farm, and the clutch goes out of the truck. Just Michael's behind me. I like go over a hill and I'm like, the truck's not behind me anymore. That's weird. And I wait like 30 seconds and I'm like, truck's still not behind me. That's weird. And so I turn around. Michael's in someone's yard. The truck's dead. Clutch gone. We had to get a tow truck to come and pick it up and take it back to Ottumwa. Like, it made it until the last thing we shot was the truck driving around.
To Ottumwa? On a tow?
Yeah, on like a flatbed.
God.
It was like a 3-hour drive. And yeah, it was wild. We finished the shoot and we had like, for so many of the shots were like me, Bruce, and Nick Forder in the back of the truck driving around. I'm like, what if the clutch went out when all of us were in the back of the truck?
We would have lost.
The truck waited. That's the best anecdote. And it's like, he made it. It's good. It's good. Oh, and we got pulled over once.
We did. That's right.
Got pulled over towing the gator from Fontenelle. Is that how you say that town? Back to Madrid. It's like 12:30 at night.
Oh my God.
We got pulled over. They were like, you don't have lights on your trailer. And I'm like, he's like, can I see your license and insurance? I go to open the glove box. The front of the glove box drops off onto the floor. And he just went, I'm just going to give you a warning. I'll follow you to the gas station. You guys can get some reflective tape. And we're like, please, please. And we also had a coffin in the back of the truck at that time. He did look at it and he went, I'm not going to ask.
Yeah. I think it was just a confluence of so many different factors. He eyeballed 3 different things and just decided your problems are so much bigger.
Yeah, it was.
Headlights not working on your trailer.
It was wild. That's the best anecdote of the whole thing, I think.
Oh, no. We also were working on like a live farm, like things were happening on the farm, and we're there during harvest festival or harvest time, and not only harvest of the crops but harvest of the cattle. And so we show up one morning. And Larry, the farmer, he goes to the entire cast and crew. He goes, well, say goodbye to him.
said that to Ben. He said that to my
To the child, yeah.
my
And,
boy.
and the funniest thing is, like, 6 hours go by. Larry takes care of his business. He comes back. He goes into his shop, and he comes out with a bag of beef jerky.
No.
And he goes to the cast and crew, hey, does anybody want any jerky? And all of our minds were like, those are the cows that were here this morning.
Truly the most just off the wall sense of humor.
And so our city crew, you know, got a little taste of what it's
I
like
love
in the
it.
country. So
That's insane.
yeah, it was a great time.
Dang. Yeah. What's your favorite part of the festival so far?
I think my favorite part of the festival is just getting to see the other Iowa filmmakers that I, you know, work with and know and respect, and get a chance to have a little bit of FaceTime with them, because it's like we're all working on our own projects all the time, and we don't cross paths as much as we probably would like to. So just the energy of being around other filmmakers is something I really like.
Yeah.
Same. Just getting to be here because, like, I live in California now, and getting to come back and see everybody that I know and everybody's, like, new work and stuff that's not out yet. That's the best part.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate just giving an unoriginal answer, but a lot of these things, like Friendly Faces and, I mean, even, like, you know, films that Matt Tribble has worked on, who's right across this wall, I believe, right now. A lot of their projects have been things that I've been hearing about for the last 2 or 3-ish years.
Yeah.
And so it kind of feels like, I don't know, it feels like a party where you get to kind of celebrate all this work that you spent so long hearing about, and then you finally get to see. Everyone, please see Friendly Faces. It is so funny. It is so good and so sweet and so sincerely written. And it's just really cool to see the work of your friends and peers celebrated. Yeah.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I won't take up any more of your guys' time, but thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
Any
you
last
very
words
much.
y'all want to share?
Come see Knee High. This is not live, so it doesn't really matter if you're listening to this in the future. If you're listening to this.
Just a year from now, just let's make a joke at you.
If you, yeah, exactly.
Come see me.
Like Hypnotoad, buy it. Buy it.
All right, guys. Well, hey, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye. Okay, next up we have Nick Ford. Nick, how you doing today?
Good.
Good. Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? What do you do?
I'm originally from Cedar Rapids, where we are now. I've been in Des Moines for maybe 10 years now.
Okay.
Filmmaking there. Just kind of crew for the most part until more recently been a key grip, AC, that kind of thing, and just now stepping into more of like a directing role.
Cool.
Bonicel's my first real like big project, I would say.
Okay. So that's what you're showing here at CRIFF. It's
Yeah.
Bonicel.
Yeah.
And what is that?
Bonicel is a 20-minute documentary, almost like branded content kind of thing, honestly, about a friend of mine down in Kansas City who makes jeans from scratch in his apartment.
Whoa.
Yeah. I first met him maybe like 5 years ago through a mutual friend. And we kind of both were at like the beginning of our things. I'd filmed a couple music videos.
Okay.
Easton had filmed or made a couple pairs of pants and was like, I really want to do this. And I was like, yeah, dude, I'm trying to do the same thing with film. And it just kind of all this time later happened that we came back together. Our friend Reese that kind of linked us together was like, hey, Easton's looking for some promotion for his business, and I was looking for like a documentary or just something bigger to make. So it kind of was like a win-win for the both of us.
That's cool.
To get this one going. Yeah.
So you shot this down in Kansas City?
Yeah. We spent 3 days down in Kansas City, running around town, and then a day in his apartment watching him make a pair of jeans.
So he runs this whole operation out of his apartment.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, everything from there. He gets denim imported from Japan and goes from there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So Bonicel, is that the name of the brand?
That's the name of the brand.
Okay,
as
gotcha.
well. Yeah. think he says it's named after his great grandmother, who was also like a seamstress.
Wow.
And yeah, the logo comes from like things she used to put onto her pieces and everything. So
Yeah. How did you kind of navigate? Because you said this was branded content, so I'm guessing this is going to help promote their business.
yeah.
How do you kind of balance like the creativity aspect of doing this documentary versus like the kind of commercial aspect? Was there input from the brand, or was it just kind of like they said, just run with this and we'll take what you give us?
Like we weren't really like intending on doing the documentary itself as like branded content necessarily.
Okay.
Like we were gonna do kind of two separate things. Like, let me get my documentary, we'll make something really great for you.
Cool.
And they kind of just meshed together.
Yeah.
And it works real well in that way, that obviously being about him in the business, it's promoting the business, but
But it's just a great story to tell.
yeah,
Is that kind of-
yeah. So it's a little more like, has a little more direction than you'd think when you hear documentary.
Okay.
Which is why I say it's kind of like branded content,
Sure.
but it's more on the documentary side, really.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see it. How are you enjoying the festival so far?
it's been great. We've got a lot of stuff that we worked on in this one, so it's cool to spend a few days sitting down watching it all on the big screen.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. So what are kind of your goals as a filmmaker? Kind of looking ahead. What do you want to get into?
I really just want to like direct, and I've really fell in love with grip work. I mean, lighting's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed working through all of that, and
Cool.
doing all of that. So really just being involved in filmmaking is my goal, which is what I'm doing. So like,
Good.
yeah, that works out well.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you want to tell the audience?
Not really.
All right.
I hope you guys can see Bonicel sometime. We're still doing a festival run.
Okay.
I think this is our last one in Iowa, but we're playing in Kansas City next week on the 11th.
Cool.
And we're submitted to a few more, just waiting to hear back.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with it.
Thanks.
All right, Nick. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Have a good day. Okay, and so we are back, and now we have Max Allan Collins. How you doing today, Max?
I'm doing well. This is a beautiful day.
It really is. So let's give us some of your background. Where are you from, and then what do you? What do you work on?
I'm from Muscatine, Iowa. I've lived there my entire life, but to have have dabbled in various parts of the country, done some Hollywood, New York, and so on. So, but I never left. Never left.
It's always been home.
It's always been home. And I'm a writer, I'm a novelist. The things I'm probably best known for, I wrote the Dick Tracy comic strip for 15 years. And then the most famous thing in comics is Road to Perdition, which became the film. And my mystery novels included the Quarry series, which was adapted by Cinemax for a one season show. I would have liked it been 10 seasons, but it was one season, which is one more season than I'd ever had before.
Of course.
So it was cool. And I've been doing this a long, long time. The independent film stuff happened mostly between 1993 and I'd say 2006, 2007. And then while I've written some films, I haven't done any filmmaking myself to speak of. And I just got kind of interested again and have picked it back up. And we did a thing last year called Mickey Spillane's Encore for Murder, which was basically a radio style play that we shot. And,
cool.
And then this year we did Blue Christmas.
Okay, and so let's talk about Blue Christmas. So that's
Sure.
what you have showing today at CRIFF. And how's the reception been so far?
Reception has been exceptional. I've been very, very happy because, I mean, really, it's a movie we made for $14,000, and we didn't have any names beyond, I'd say, Elizabeth Vonn Presley, who, because she's been on American Idol and a couple of those kind of shows,
Sure.
is very well known in this part of the world particularly.
Yeah.
And Rob Merritt's a very successful actor in the independent movie world.
Yeah.
But basically, we did not have a Hollywood star that we brought in. and most of the actors were semi-pro, although very, very experienced.
Sure.
And so that was a bit of a challenge. So
Yeah.
And I guess we had really intended it because everything we had done in the 90s and in the early 2000s had really been done with the home video market in mind. Of course, that's changed. It's a smaller market now, but there's a streaming market. So
Yes.
I guess we always kind of viewed Blue Christmas as basically as a TV movie kind of thing. You know, we'd be streaming and we'd be on home video, and we actually already have a home video deal. So
Wow, that's awesome.
yeah, but we've had really good reception from theaters in Iowa. The Ridley chain,
Yeah.
and they have a theater in Muscatine,
Yep.
the Palms. They got interested early on, and Bruce Taylor here at Collins Road Theater, he's always been after us to do, to have him show anything we might do.
I love that.
And he was very excited about it and booked us right in. And so suddenly, so we had two Ridley theaters, Des Moines and Muscatine, wanting to show it on the big screen. And the same with Bruce Taylor. And then Beck and Woods, the team.
Last Picture House.
Yeah, the team that did, Quiet Place.
Yep.
Who consider me and Phil Dingledine, my cinematographer, sort of mentors of theirs. We didn't know we were, but
Really?
they when we, they've singled us out for that, which is a big honor because
Yeah.
they're very successful, and they immediately wanted to put this in the Last Picture House.
Wow.
And then all of these places have expressed strong interest in doing it because we did these sort of premiere screenings were all done after the Christmas season. They took place in March, mostly in March and going into April.
And so, what drove the decision to do like an after Christmas release of a Christmas movie?
Well, the real release is going to be probably more like October because it'll hit.
Okay.
It will October 24. It will start hitting home video and screening.
Gotcha.
And it's being taken out to the screening services now, so I don't know where it will land. We had good luck. I mean, we got the Mike Hammer thing we did. That's been on Amazon Prime, and it's all gotten onto the streaming services.
Nice.
So we feel pretty confident that this will do well there. But looks like the Ridley chain is going to put it into 17 theaters in the
Midwest?
Christmas holiday season this year.
Wow.
And I think Bruce is going to bring it back to Collins Road for a week. And
That's awesome.
that was something completely unexpected.
Yeah.
That was not part of the not that we had a marketing plan,
Right.
because you just do these movies because you want to do them.
I love that.
They're a business prospect, but most of us are thinking more in the creative
I think so.
vein.
Yeah,
you
especially
know.
in the indie world, we don't expect to ever make our money back on these things. It's just a passion.
It's very tough. It's
Yeah.
very tough, but it can happen. It can happen.
It can. Yep. So where did the story for Blue Christmas come from?
Well, I always was, I'm a mystery writer, and one of my favorite, probably my favorite mystery novel was The Maltese Falcon by Dashiell Hammett, which became the great film with Humphrey Bogart, the great John Huston film. And then I also have been a big fan of A Christmas Carol in general, but specifically the Alistair Sim British film that was done in the very early 50s. I think it was done in 1950. And always watched that at Christmas, so I saw it every year. And for some reason, it just occurred to me that the two could be merged. I think one of the things that it really occurred to me about the Christmas Carol story was that they always emphasize Scrooge being stingy. And I don't really think it's a story about somebody who was stingy. I think it's a story about somebody who became kind of morally stunted, made some wrong. So it could have been been anything.
If they chose to make it money, but it could have been.
But it
any
didn't
sort of-
have to be. It didn't have to be stinginess.
Sure.
So the idea of a detective whose partner was killed on Christmas Eve, and he didn't bother solving his partners. It's because Sam Spade in the Maltese Falcon is kind of reluctantly doesn't really like his dead partner, but he's like, well, when detective's partner is killed, you're supposed to do something about it,
right?
Because you're a detective. And I thought, well, what if Sam Spade had said, I don't care, he's dead. And then Marley comes back and says, I'm in purgatory because you haven't solved my murder.
Wow.
And so that was the basic idea. And then to do something fun with the ghosts, to not have it, because the Ghost of Christmas Past is Bonnie Parker from Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
And then the Ghost of Christmas Future is Elvis Presley, who the detective in 1942 has no idea who Elvis Presley is.
He's just the king.
He's the king,
yeah.
And it's the so that to me that was, I just thought it really lent itself well to some fun things, because I know when we see the movie, and it's been very interesting seeing it with audiences, because again I always was thinking in TV terms. When I see it, how audiences respond, it gets pretty dark at a certain point. And then when the king shows up, there is almost you sense the relief of the audience, like, okay, here's something kind of funny. Here's something's a little lighter. And it was just a good reminder of the need in a story to not be one note.
Yes. And I think that you did a great job of building all of this darkness up until what traditionally in this story is the all is lost moment with the Ghost of Christmas Future. When the king shows up, that's your moment of levity, actually.
Yeah.
And I really like that kind of subversion of the story just a little bit.
Well, yeah, and I think I've seen a lot of versions of this where they've tried to update it and tried to do this and tried to do that. And I thought this was something new. I didn't.
It felt new.
Yeah. I didn't think that, and I don't think you necessarily are thinking the whole time like, oh, I'm watching A Christmas Carol. I don't think you think that.
No, because the setting and the tone is so deeply in the 40s, private detective space that like you don't even realize that you're watching The Christmas Carol until
it was interesting coming up with this notion of doing it all in the private detective's office, which it was a risk. It was a risk. I mean, that's a long time to spend in one space. It's done occasionally, but
it feels kind of like watching a play.
There's a play aspect to it. In fact, I would tell you this was just something I haven't really discussed with anybody. When we did the My Camera play, was just radio style play, my first impulse was, well, let's do it, because it is a fairly elaborate story, Blue Christmas. Let's do another radio play and shoot it like a play. And then I went one more step. Well, let's just shoot it. Let's not do the radio thing. Let's just do it as a play. And that led us to the single set.
Okay.
And then as I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, why am I doing this as a play? Why don't I just shoot it as a movie?
Roll cameras.
Because we had done, one of the last independent film I did was in 2006. And it's a thing called Elliot Ness and Untouchable Life. And it had played here at the Cedar Rapids Film Festival.
Yeah.
And it appeared on PBS, Iowa PBS, and we did it at a theater in Des Moines, the Des Moines Playhouse. I forget the name of the theater, but it's the big theater in Des Moines, live theater. And the deal we had with them was that they could have, because at that point I had just done Road to Perdition, so I went in there and it said, would you guys like a play by the guy that wrote Road to Perdition? Oh yeah, great. Cool. So it's like, fine, but we want to have access. You're only going to do it like Thursday through Sunday. I want access Monday through Wednesday, a couple of weeks, so we can shoot it. And
cool.
And we shot it, but we shot it like a movie. We didn't, even though it was very stagey.
Sure.
But we did not have an audience there. We opened with the audience, showed an audience, but then once we started doing the play, and it's a one-man show.
Sure.
And so we did it, but we shot it the way you would shoot a movie.
Sure,
We shot it
coverage
like a
and-
movie.
Yeah.
And so the same thing, I thought, so I'd had that experience on that particular production. So even though, so this is sort of like a play that we skipped the play part. I mean, we never did it as a play.
Yeah.
And it does things that you can't do as a play.
Right.
You know, there are just things you can't do.
Yep.
So it does do a certain number of filmic things that are just absolutely something that you need to do on film. I'm very proud of it. What we pulled off with almost no money and almost no time.
Yeah.
But some very talented people. I should mention specifically, Phil Dingledine, who shot it, and has shot most of the things I've ever done, and then Chad Bishop. Chad Bishop edited. You know, I sit in the editing suite with him, but he edited this movie, and he was a sound technician on the movie. He was the producer of the movie.
He acted too, right?
He was an actor in the movie. He did a really good job, and it's really he and I, to some degree, he and I made this movie because I'm a big believer that the movie is made in the editing suite.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
Yep.
it's I mean, there are 3 drafts of a movie. There's a script, there's production, and then there's post.
Yeah.
And
The story changes the entire process through.
it really can. I often talk about the fact that there was when we did Mommy's Day, which was the second of the 2 Mommy movies, we had Patty McCormick, who's an incredible actress, who had been the bad seed as a little girl. And I directed her to do, there's a scene where she's going to get a lethal injection. And I had her do it 4 different ways. One which, and each one was like very low key and kind of building up to where she did the final one. She was like hysterical through the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
But and then when I got in the editing suite, I used pieces. I built it like that.
Yeah.
And so it was this, I think, phenomenal performance that she kind of didn't give, because she gave 4 different performances that we shuffled the deck to make it a different performance. And that's movies.
That's cool.
That's movies.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yep. You can. That's interesting. You can change someone's performance just in editing.
Yeah. There's a thing I saw once where they just demonstrated like maybe it was Jimmy Stewart or somebody. They show him and they say, okay, now this is rage, and you show him, and then like this is love. I mean, they give all these emotions, and you could read it into what.
Yeah.
You know, every one. And I thought that was fascinating because you can. That's one of the blessings of film, is because everybody's gone home, right? Everybody's gone.
Yeah.
But you can still look at that and figure out how can I put this together because I've had this idea that I didn't have on set.
Right.
So how can I do that?
And so knowing that kind of about yourself, you are able to, or are you able to, like you said, ask for different ways of delivering lines so you have more to work with in post?
Well, yeah, I think that's important too. I'm a very big believer. I think some of the actors were a little, because they came from mostly a stage background.
You got one shot, right?
and so they expected me to direct them out of the gate. And what I like to do is I want to see what they bring. I want to see what they bring to it. And if I'm thinking, that's cool, then we just keep doing what you're doing,
Yep.
Or I may say, try. Yeah, I don't like to give line readings. I think it's insulting to actors to give line readings.
Agreed.
But I will say, on that last word, pause and just throw it away. I'll give them that kind of direction, and I think they find. A lot of these actors really enjoy that kind of collaborative, where I'm not trying to mold them so much as I'm just trying to see what they're what they naturally would bring to it. Because if they're any good at all, they've been spending time with the script. They've been thinking about their character. They've been building a backstory for their character.
I love when they do that.
Yeah. And so I really like to, not be somebody that just. I know you read about some of these directors that frustrate actors because they don't give them anything, but a lot of times I think it's because they've cast who they wanted, they know what they're going to get, and they respect the actor's craft.
Yeah.
So, but sometimes it's just more, less,
Sure. Yeah.
And that's all I have to, because if you've cast it well, you should know pretty much what you're going to get.
Yeah. And I guess being open to questions and interrogation about, who this character is, where are they in the scene, let them ask the questions that they need to access what they need to access.
Well, one of the things that I noticed so much on this one more than anything we've ever done, because we only had 6 days. I mean, we had that little window.
Yeah.
And there were things that were in my script that they would come in and they would think the script is gospel, and they talk to me. Well, now when we make the entrance, and I'm say, no entrance anymore. Now you're just sitting in a chair, because we don't have time for that.
Yep.
We don't have time to shoot it.
Yep. But they've run this through in their head so many times, and now they got to flex on the spot.
So they do have to. I mean, a screen actor has to be very flexible in a way that because once the stage actor has got the part set, while they may tweak it just to not get bored over a long run, let's say.
Sure.
They need to be able to think fast on their feet, because I'm rewriting on set all the time.
Interesting.
Because
you see something that you like, or something that isn't going to work for time.
Or it occurs to you something that I'm going to need, because I like to sit in the editing suite and I'm like, I want to make sure I've got everything that I need in there, because boy, if you don't have it, it ain't there, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And you can't. I know there's a thing in Blue Christmas where I could kind of correct my writing. There's a scene toward the very end where the character that is played by Tommy, whose two last names I can't even pronounce, but Tommy is great. He plays Joey Ernest, and I realized that I had done things in the wrong order. And I was able into the editing suite to switch them, and you can try that, and if it works,
you gotta have good continuity.
And if it fits, then you can correct it.
Yep.
You can certainly tighten it up too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, true. Yeah, I really, I'm primarily a novelist, and so I have that solitary. It's a solitary profession, really. I mean, it's just me and the machine, and one of the reasons why I keep getting drawn back to filmmaking is the collaborative nature of it. It's like, I like to be in charge, but I want to be. I want people that will bring stuff to it that I maybe didn't even think of. The best example I can give is we on the first movie we did, Mommy. I ended up having to direct it. I wasn't planning to. Never thought about being a director. Just was going to be a writer who got somebody good to direct it for him.
Right.
As it ended up, I ended up taking directing over at the end of the second week. And the first scene I shot was a scene with Mommy and her little girl, and the little girl had just witnessed Mommy killing Mommy's boyfriend. And I wrote the scene with Mommy being extremely manipulative. And Patty McCormick played it, got all the manipulation I was after, but brought the way a mother and a daughter would interact.
Okay.
That was over my head.
Yeah.
Right?
You didn't even think to write it.
I didn't even think to write it.
Right.
I didn't think to write it. And I'm sitting there thinking, wow, are they making me look good? It's like, that's very cool.
Yes.
That's very cool. That's something that you can get with a film.
Yeah.
That you can't get from any other art form that I can think of, except maybe stage. But boy, and that was the very first scene that I quote unquote directed. and I thought this is going to be fun. This is going to be a whole other thing.
Cool. So, what's next for you as a filmmaker? Or
Well,
as a writer?
we are. I've got. I mean, I have a lot of things that have been optioned, but I kind of don't pay any attention to Hollywood. It's like if they want to give me money to say they're going to make something out of something I did, that's great. Most of the time, they give me money and then they don't make it. I mean, they make about one out of, I don't know, 20, 25 things they option.
Okay.
And so I've had I've had stuff happen. I mean, you don't get much better in Road to Perdition.
Yep.
But and the Quarry TV show, one season or not, they did a terrific job. But what I try to do is just focus on what I can get done. We're getting ready to do a thing called another Christmas movie.
Cool.
Well, because one of the things I realized about Blue Christmas was how people responded to, just to the Christmas subject matter.
Yeah, it's very accessible.
I mean, it's a genre.
Yep.
So we're going to do a thing called. The plan is. It's called Death by Fruitcake. And
I love the title.
And it is it's a cozy comic mystery
Awesome.
based on a series of novels that my wife and Barb and I have done together over the years.
Wow.
And so it's very different from Blue Christmas.
Sure.
But we're going to use a lot of the same actors.
Cool.
And I have, I had always in the past made sure I had some Hollywood talent involved in terms of acting. What I've realized now is, no offense to my Hollywood friends, but there's no reason not to just use talent from here.
I always got it.
You've
got
got a lot
everything.
of talent here.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's amazing. And when you look at what Rob, Merritt does in Blue Christmas, he's got that whole movie in his shoulders. He really does.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine anybody doing a better job than he did.
He killed it.
So
really did.
And also, frankly, I don't have to deal with Screen Actors Guild.
True.
Which is a major thing on the movies we would make.
Yeah.
There have to be somebody on,
A union
a
rep.
crew person who just dealt with the unions.
Yep.
And I'm a card-carrying Democrat, I mean, I'm pro-union.
Yeah.
But it is.
I hear
arts.
exactly what you're
It's
saying
the
without
arts,
saying it.
it's and arts is not really conducive to unions, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I have to. I do give, SAG and the Writers Guild and so on, because I'm in the Writers Guild. But
Right.
I give them credit because they do recognize micro budget, what they consider a micro budget. We don't necessarily consider it micro budget.
But that's still like what, 50,000?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's 100. I think it might be 100, but you get under a certain level,
Right.
and you don't even have to deal with. You don't even have to. For example, when we did the Mommies and we had like 5 SAG people coming in, the rule was every actor had to be paid SAG.
Oh, wow.
So what that did to the budget was not pretty.
Yeah.
And and it wasn't anything that these actors were demanding.
Yeah.
It was what SAG said. That's the way this has to work. If you want to have
Any SAG, you have to have
you
all
want to
SAG.
have our SAG people, then everybody it has to be a SAG, essentially a SAG shoot.
Right.
And we did it, and we did several movies that way, and it's doable.
Yep.
But you better have. Back then, I had like $500,000 to do that. Now, if I can make a movie, I don't know that there's. If I look at my $14,000 movie and I look at my $500,000 movie, is there really $400-some thousand difference between the?
Sure.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But it sure is nice to be able to get something made again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always is.
Yeah, and to have the audience respond well. What this film festival seems to have an audience base that enjoys having access to this material.
Yes. Yeah, I think they like the content and they like the spirit of just the like kind of small indie film coming back.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all the time we're going to
Thank
have
you
for
very
today,
much.
Max. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on, and congratulations on Blue Christmas.
Well, thank you, Jake. Let's hope some more congratulations are in order.
Absolutely.
We've got awards here coming up tonight.
Heck yeah. Good things coming.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you,
Like
Max.
to haul something home.
Heck yeah. All
Why
right.
not?
See ya.
Thank you.
Hi, Carrsan.
Hello.
Welcome back. We have Carrsan Morrissey back on the podcast to talk about her film.
Yes.
How's it been going so far?
It's been going very well.
Yeah.
We had our screening last night at 9:20 p.m. And then we had our second screening this morning at 9 a.m. So
wow.
less than 12 hours between.
Yeah.
And I did go to bed last night at 3 o'clock in the morning.
My goodness.
So I made it. I'm alive. I am here and present. Not the most energized, but I regret nothing. So
We have the coffee.
Yeah, that's what this is for. But no, it's been going really well.
Yeah.
Reception has been really positive. People really seem to like it, and or at least like to appreciate it. Yeah, no, it's been fun.
Yeah. This isn't a film that you like. This is a film that you survive along with the audience and the cast and crew. Like
That's really what I'm going for.
It is-
with my body of work.
Yeah.
So
it is a wonderful, just brutal film, and I love it.
Thank you.
Oh my God. So I've seen it now twice, and
yeah, you have seen it twice.
I
Haven't
went
you?
to
Oh,
the
that's
premiere.
So cool. Yeah.
And again, just congratulations on
Thank
this.
you.
It is for what you pulled off with just you and like a small group of others is outstanding. It's it blows my mind at how what you did.
Thank you. And I will say, like, I've been kind of reticent to talk about, because like you don't like to talk about the things that went wrong when you're making a movie, obviously. And like, this is one of those situations where I want to emphasize this was nobody's fault, but we did have the person who was going to do sound and lighting have to drop out like literally days before shooting.
No kidding.
If not, I don't remember if it was the day or it was like a couple of days. It was shortly before shooting.
Yeah.
And so there was kind of a conscious decision made of just like, okay, we can either delay it again, and we had already basically been pushing for like a year. Wow. It was like, or we can just work with what we've got and get it done. And I really, really am glad that we just decided to work with what we had and get it done, because we were just at that point where it's like, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna just do it now. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. And like, you know, to be totally honest, and I'm not in any way putting down my own project, but like I never intended this to be the one that would like, you know, be some huge professional production that would blow up and get, you know, tons of, like, it's not that kind of movie.
Right.
So it's like, we decided to just strip everything down, do it really, really minimal, really in your face and personal and intimate, and like it made something really special. So I'm very happy with how it turned out and how it's been received, and it seems like people really get that element of it, which is cool.
Intimate is the perfect word for it.
Yeah.
It is I love how you shot close and handheld for a lot of the things.
And that was the plan. I will say that was the plan from
Yeah,
the beginning, because
I-
that's how I like to shoot in general.
Yeah.
But
I love that as a just a filmmaking choice. How did you get the performances from your characters? Were they just that? Did they just know the assignment right off the bat, or did it take a lot of or any sort of
I mean,
context?
I would really say a lot of it is they understood the assignment right off the bat. I mean, especially like Jay, who played Judith.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had that character now since I wrote the script. At the time that we shot, it had been just over a year. So like they had really had time to sit with Judith and kind of find her. And then Jess, who played Abra, kind of came into it with this energy. Part of the reason that I approached her, because when we had to recast Abra, we had like 6 or 7 different auditions and a few people that I approached individually too. So we had a good group. But she just has this vibrance that is just so alive, and I knew it would be such a counter, because I already had a pretty good idea of where Jay was going with Judith. And I just knew that they would play off of each other so well without one eclipsing the other. So, you know, of course I have my little moments of like, hey, can we try it this way, or can we, you know, think of this motivation? But especially for a movie like this where everything needs to feel really real and authentic, it was a lot of just kind of letting them run it a couple of times and maybe making those little micro tweaks here and there, but kind of just letting them play it out.
Was there a lot of improv?
There was Not a ton, but there was a significant amount. The improv that's in there is important, but there wasn't a lot. The scene, like the little 30-second sequence of like them on like their first date where they're like laughing and messing around, that was all improv.
Sure. Okay.
Because I just told them like just hang out and have an awkward first date, and they did, and it was perfect. I think we had like 5 to 10 minutes of footage of that, and it all worked out really well. But one really significant piece of improv, and I don't want to completely, the ending is you kind of know where it's going from the beginning. Sure. But I will say the last line of dialogue I wrote in the script is when Abra says, "I just want to listen to your voice," and Judith says, "Okay." Everything Judith says after that whole last like minute and a half of the monologue, Jay came up with that.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that was an improv moment.
Oh my god!
I know. Well, because I will say I think they pitched the idea of what they wanted to say to me before we shot it, and I was like, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, they just rolled with it, and it was just heart wrenching. I remember we were all crying, like just when we finished that shot.
Oh my god!
It was so good. And that was when because I really was committed to. We tried it a couple different ways. We were going to have them standing, we were going to have them dancing, and we tried a couple different things. And it was like, I just want them just sitting, not doing, because they're so scared, obviously, of course, the world's going to end. But I just wanted that you're just right there with them in that moment. And that moment of improv is it's so good. So yeah, the improv that was there, like I said, it's not a ton, but the stuff that is there is really intentional.
Beautiful. Yes.
And works really well. Cause I love letting actors improv and letting them play. I think that you can get a lot of cool stuff that way. Yeah. So,
this was asked in the Q&A last night, but I wanted to bring it up here just so more people had a chance to listen to it. There's a lot of interjections of T.S. Eliot's The Four Quartets.
Yeah.
Where did that come from, and why is that important to the story?
Yeah, so Four Quartets by T.S. Eliot became really the kind of almost the narrator of the story. Like it's not quite chapters. They're not like when I first started writing it. It was going to be that each section was kind of equally long, but it actually works out that like some T.S. Eliot quotes are within like 2 minutes of each other, and others are separated by like 20 minutes of time. Yeah. So it really is just like wherever they naturally fit into the story. But that started because Four Quartets by T.S. Eliot is actually Jay's favorite book. And we're best friends, so we just been talking, and they were talking about this poetry book that they read, and I was like, oh, I'd love to read it. So they loaned me the book, and we had already been conceptualizing along with the actress playing the Madonna, Shelby. So like the three of us had already been kind of toying with this concept, which we weren't quite sure yet if it was going to be something more kind of schlocky and ridiculous or something more dramatic. But I had the outline of it, and I read this. I think by the time I read the book, I already had like the first half-ish of the script done, and I started reading it, and I was like, "This just fits so well." Like the passages that are in the movie are the ones that stuck out to me as I was reading it, and it just seemed such a natural fit. And I also love working things that are true to the actors into the characters, because I think if you can tie a little like the tattoo in the movie that they talk about, that's real.
That's a real tattoo.
That's an actual tattoo. Yes.
And it is tied to the Four Quartets.
Yeah, and that's literally exactly what it actually is.
I love that.
And they were getting that tattoo while we were in Dracula conceptualizing this, and so that's kind of how we got on the subject to begin with. And I think the only part of it that's made up is I did write what the tattoo means to Judith in that moment. Sure. Obviously, Jay has different connections to it, but like the tattoo is real. And I always jump at opportunities to connect actors with their characters a little bit more. And this was sort of an extreme example of that, honestly, because it sort of attached the entire movie to it. But I'm very inspired by classical literature and classical painting and like just kind of the classical arts. And the kind of older forms of storytelling. Yeah. So it all just sort of worked. But yeah, Jay introduced me to the book, and I loved it, and it became the kind of backbone of the story.
Yeah. So I can cut this part out if you don't want to talk about it, but
no, fine.
I want to ask. So there are some intense traumatic moments in this film. How were those handled on set, and how were they handled in the editing room? Just kind of like...
Oh, absolutely. Well, first of all, you don't have to cut this out. I mean, it's an intense movie. I have advertised it as such. But no, like it was a mix of a lot of things. First of all, Stephanie Schneider, the intimacy coordinator who I worked with on this, who is one of my favorite people on planet Earth, dear friend, an amazing collaborator, was on set every day of filming except the days we filmed at the church. So we actually had her there, and part of it was just that we needed hands. But also she was just kind of a constant sounding board and input for all of these things. So her role in making the set more tolerable for all of us cannot be overstated. She was incredibly essential. But I will also say that we were very intentional of, even if it was kind of on the day, making sure we took time to run things, to talk through things before we just shot. So we would read through the lines a couple of times and then run through the lines a couple of times and then we would block it out and then we would shoot it. So there weren't a lot of surprises. Everything was pretty well choreographed and understood. And also the benefit of Joe, who plays Reverend Holting, the villain, and Jay and I are all friends. We've all worked together on stage before too. So there was a very safe feeling of even though he's playing this despicable character, he's somebody that Jay really knows and trusts, and someone that I really feel like I can trust with these kinds of roles. So there was, like anything, it was just a lot of trust, a lot of communication, and just kind of remembering that at the end of the day it's all fake, and letting ourselves laugh and goof around a little bit too.
Is there any debriefing afterwards? Hey, this just happened?
There were a couple times that we kind of took a moment to step back away from it and took a break or talk it through. And then, with editing, again, it's always that fine line of never wanting to water it down with editing, but also making very, very close attention to not lingering on anything too long with editing too. I'm very intentional with how much of any moment of violence or disturbing content is on screen, even if it's a lot. In certain instances, that's deliberate. But I think sometimes there's an inclination, especially in horror, and sometimes it's appropriate, to really linger on the moments of disgust or uncomfort or terror. But this wasn't that kind of movie where I wanted to show just enough to get the point across and then move on. Even down to I remember editing the number of frames between the first confession room scene and the shot where Judith is in the shower. I think I remember cutting and adding 3 or 4 frames to that cut.
Down to the frame.
Yeah, frames matter.
Yeah.
Even a little moment of a breath or a blink or a shudder that an actor gives can completely change a moment. So even single frames make a difference.
Wow.
But it's a very, I would say, intention from production to editing matters, communication, and again, just allowing those moments of levity.
Wow. So what is next for Salvages?
Don't know for sure yet. The IMPAs, Iowa Motion Picture Awards, were nominated for 6 different awards.
Nice. Congratulations.
Best Actress for Jay, Supporting Actress for Jess, Supporting Actor for Joe, Cinematography and Directing for me, and then Best Original Score for Michael Duty. Which,
the score is fantastic.
God. His work on this film is incredible. Yes. I'm in awe. I literally sit in my car sometimes and just listen to the music from this movie.
It's beautiful.
It's so
beautiful.
Good. I love him so much. So that's coming up. But as far as what film festival is into next, I don't think my next notification date is till the end of April. So we'll see.
Oh, we'll see.
I've entered it in a lot of things. You never know. And again, especially because this film, again, with the least shade to myself as possible, but the emphasis in this movie was not on incredible production value. It was on storytelling. So I don't know if it's going to be everybody's cup of tea from that standpoint. Unfortunately, with film festivals, sometimes that's really a factor.
They highlight the technical aspect of things highly. Sure.
But I will say I anticipate at least 2 or 3 more that I feel pretty strongly that we'll get into. And then I'm also hoping to schedule some more public screenings around Iowa. I have a couple places in mind. I'm hoping to do that.
Good.
Before it eventually ends up online.
Yeah. Where will it live online?
Probably Vimeo.
Okay.
I don't think this is a YouTube safe movie. So probably Vimeo.
I would not say.
Yeah, so probably Vimeo.
Cool. And then what's next after this for you?
Good question. Also, I've got a couple of things in mind. I've got a couple completed scripts already. It's really a matter of what I decide to do. I'm always in this phase whenever I finish a project of it's not that I don't have any ideas, it's that I have too many ideas. And narrowing that down into what I actually want to do next is always hard. I will say I am working on editing a micro short that I haven't revealed publicly yet. So that is coming out soon, which is going to be really cool and different. It's more of a conceptual like performance piece, but I'm really excited about it. So that you'll be hearing about very soon. But as far as like big flagship projects, I have some plans with my friends in New York to eventually collaborate on something with them. I have my own feature ideas that I want to do next. I have some short film ideas. So again, something is coming. I just don't know quite what it is yet. But whatever I do next, I'm hoping to raise some money for it and get a little bit more of a crew together and kind of not quite go pro. I don't ever quite think I'm going to go there, but get a little bit more production behind it so we can hopefully kind of take it to that next level.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good. The world needs more Carrsan.
God, I hope so, because there's so much more to give. So, no, I've got some pretty significant plans. I've kind of got it down to 2 major courses of what to do next. And it's not a matter of like one will get done and then the other won't, but like just whatever one I want to jump into next. So
awesome.
Got plans. But yeah, no, Salvages is just kind of getting started. Hoping to do at least 2 more public screenings and a couple of festivals before I put it online.
Awesome.
But yeah, I'm really happy people are liking it. I fully expected more pushback, to be totally honest. A little bit. Like I didn't know. I mean, it's a, very religiously charged, very violent movie, and I didn't know how people were going to react to it. But so far, the reaction has been very positive. And again, I think that's a testament to the performances and the timing we were able to build and everything feeling very intentional. So, yeah, I'm really happy.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of the festival. Thank you for your time.
You as well.
Thank you, Carrsan. All right, welcome back. We have Matt Tribble and Marc Bauer here. How you doing today, guys?
Oh, doing fantastic. How about yourself?
Pretty good. How you guys enjoying the festival?
Oh, it's always exciting.
Yeah.
And it's great that this is right here in our backyard.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice. So, what have you guys been working on? I've been seeing lots of posts and things. What do you guys have?
So I guess we recently finished a feature film called Remote.
Yeah, it's based. We back in the pandemic, we were looking for a new project to work on, and I reached out to Matt and said, it's crazy. What if we did a feature film? We had only done shorts before then, and so. We were like, let's make something that makes sense for us to make. And we both have a background in news. And so we're both big fans of horror and thriller. So we thought, let's make a horror movie set in the news world. So Remote's about a reporter and a photographer that go to a small town to report on a murder that's just happened. And in the investigation, it becomes a story of survival for their lives, like actual terror happening to them.
Wow. And so, where did you guys shoot this?
I guess we shot this several different locations. One part we shot on a farm in Grand Junction, Iowa. That's where it was one of those instances of like, my grandparents have a farm out here. Let's use it. Let's, low budget filmmaking. And then otherwise we shot it a little bit in the city of Mount Vernon. The Mount Vernon police department was very kind and willing to work with us, and so they basically just said, film wherever you want, as long as you're not disturbing anybody, it's all good. So they let us film like in front of the station and in some buildings and stuff. Yock's Landing was a bar. We talked with their owners. Great people. They were kind enough to let us film there for 2 days.
They opened at like 7 a.m. on a Sunday, and all their friends packed the bar, and it was like, okay, we have no problem with extras. So it's really cool. And I think we should also give a huge shout out to the Andersons in West Branch, Iowa. That's where we shot all the exteriors on the farm. And so, I mean, we had gorgeous weather. Like, it was in August when it's normally 100, and it was like 75 every day.
Oh my God.
You couldn't ask for better.
Nice. So how did this project kind of come together? Did one of you write it, or was it someone else that you guys picked up, or how'd that go?
I remember, I think as Marc kind of said at the beginning, like, it was his, like, hey, do you want to film a feature? And I'm like, yes, immediately I'm on board. And then, I think it was just kind of like figuring out what, with our resources, with our limited budget, what's the story that we could realistically try to make as good as possible. And so we thought a thriller, you can kind of get away with
less money, so to speak, than like a period drama or whatever. And so from there, it was really just like, how do we get into this? And I don't remember how when we kind of did lock in on. I know that we did a rewrite at one point where we just kind of like stopped and said, it's not working. We have to start from the beginning.
Oh wow!
Because I think originally it was a dead body in a house, I think, and they go to the house, and it like on page like 20, they're running for their lives, and it's like, okay. I don't know that we can have
we can't extend this for 70 more
we
minutes.
Can't have over an hour chase scene.
Right.
So I think we went back to the drawing board and tried to figure out who were more of the characters, and once it became more of a focus on the relationship of news and rural communities, where a lot of times in news you go to a small town where something bad has happened, and it becomes a circus because all these media outlets come in and everyone's freaking out because something bad happened, and it doesn't quite feel the same. And so we wanted to get into that a little bit, the relationship between townspeople and the media.
Interesting. I've never quite seen something like that before. That's interesting. Yeah. So how could people see Remote? Is it out yet?
So I don't know when this will be released, but at the current moment, it's in an online festival at the Manchester Liftoff Film Festival, and so it's like $12, I think, to be able to see all of the films, and then you can vote for ours. It'll also be premiering at the Julian Dubuque Film Festival at the end of April. So that, I guess, is our official world premiere. We've had some private screenings for like cast and crew, but this will be the first big one.
Nice. How's the reception been so far?
Great.
Cast and crew.
Everybody seems to enjoy it. That's always like the thing that I don't know is I think important for us is like we want it to be entertaining. We want people to be engaged, and so people have been very, very kind to us so far, which is all you can hope for.
Yeah.
I mean, when we first premiered it, I think there's always that nerves of like, is it gonna sound okay? Is it gonna look okay? Are there any flash frames? Last minute stuff. And the second time we showed it in Cedar Rapids, and it was much more enjoyable for us. I think we were able to sit back and watch the audience watch the movie, which is great because it's like, oh, they got that moment, or they're actually laughing at that. So that's always cool to see.
I would say for me though, I still will get that anxiety where I'm just like curled over, just like I just want this to be over with. That's just how I react to my own stuff. So,
who all did you have working on this project? It sounds like it was a kind of a big effort.
Yeah, so I think once we finished the script and we were happy with it, and I think we just kind of like made like a like a list. It was just like, hey, we saw a short film that Bruce Bales made called Knee High. He's now made it a feature that's come out with Marissa Vonn. But it was just like, that guy, we really like his work, and like his stuff looks amazing. It's one of those of like, oh, he won't agree to work with us, but we should at least ask. Yeah. And so we sent him the script, and he was in, and then it's just kind of like things snowball where it's just like, who do we have who could do this? Oh, I know this person, and then so on and so forth, and then pretty soon it's just like you've got the whole team. We're now casting, and then boom, we're off and running.
Wow.
Yeah, and for casting, we mostly posted on social media, Facebook. There's a lot of film groups that I'm sure people are aware of, but if they're not, they're out there. Definitely look into that. But we were able to get a great cast from all over. Nice. One of our actors lives in Virginia, but he actually went to high school at Cedar Rapids, Washington. Wow. And he comes back every summer for play productions, and so he said, I'll stick around after the play to be in the movie. Nice. And so he was a great get, and just a lot of great people here in the state as well.
That's wonderful.
Everybody.
Nice.
Yep.
Very nice. So what are you guys working on next after you go through the festival run and the screenings and all that for Remote? What are you guys working on now?
I guess I'm in the middle of writing a different feature screenplay. This one will be more comedy drama, rather than thriller, but I got to get it done first. It's one of those of like, I'm happy with the first third, second needs some work still, and then because of that I haven't even attempted the end, so that's just where I'm at right now.
Nice.
I've got a pilot script that I've submitted to a few festivals,
Sweet.
Screenwriting contests. So we'll be hearing from them, I think, in next couple months, and then, getting back to the drawing board and kicking around a few ideas. Otherwise,
good. Keep at it. Anything else you guys want to share, plug, or talk about?
You can visit our website, brokenslate.net, and we've got all of our past projects up there. We've got all the latest info about remote, and follow us on social media as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks, gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of the festival.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Noelle. How are you doing today, Allie?
Great, how are you?
Good. How are you enjoying the festival?
It's fun. It's my first time here. I'm enjoying seeing all the movies. The comfortable seats help.
Yeah.
I like how they have snacks and they have this little lounge. It's
And
fun
butter.
and relaxing time.
So give us some of your background. What do you do?
So I grew up in Carroll, Iowa. I live in Des Moines now. I have a boring adult job, but on the side, I like to write films and act in them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what are you showing at CRIFF?
I'm showing the film Suffer in Silence that I wrote and acted in. And yeah.
Tell us about that film.
So I got the inspiration from that film because a girl I used to work with lost her life due to domestic violence. And so I had the idea to do a domestic violence piece, but I didn't want it to be like your typical story where it's the woman is the victim. So I switched the roles and it's a male victim in the movie. And then I wanted it to be something different. So I have I probably shouldn't say it, but I have a twist ending. And I won't give away the ending, so go watch it.
How did you approach writing this story? It seems like it's a close topic, but it's still a story that needs to be accessible to an audience. So how did you kind of go about doing this writing process?
So I started writing it, and then I thought this is like your typical story, and then there's just going to be like a normal happy ending where the person survives. So I wanted it to be different. So I changed it a little bit, and that's how I got a different ending than someone would normally expect. And then I just reached out to you guys, and I'm like, hey, you guys want to work together? And you're like, sure.
So from your perspective, how did the production go?
Amazing, as always. And we avoided the downpour that came out of nowhere. Every time we get to that scene in the movie, I start laughing because I'm like, we had to rush to this part. But no, the filming was fun, especially the special effects scene. I enjoy watching that each time.
How did you approach the character that you wrote for yourself?
I think I just kind of, I wrote it how I wish the girl I used to work with, my friend, had somebody in her life. I don't know if she had anybody who tried to help her, but
advocated.
Yeah, but I wish we could have done something more, so that's what I wrote my character for.
I like that. Yeah. How's the reception been so far for the film?
So far so good. Small audiences so far here, but it's getting good traction online, I think. Good reviews from what I hear.
What's next for the film?
So it's going to be playing here. I have it submitted to the Iowa Independent Film Association, IMPA. I think I said it wrong.
Russian Picture Association.
Yes, that's it. I'm nominated for Best Actress, and Cam is nominated for Best Actor.
Awesome.
I know.
Awesome. Cool. So what is next for you?
I have like 4 scripts ready to go on my computer whenever there's time. One is a stalker story based on a true story. When I was 15, I had a stalker. One is a kidnapping story. One is convenience store robbery, and then I decided to take it to a fun direction. I have a driving story. It's about a kid who takes his driving test to get his license, and that's a comedy. So I tried my hand at comedy, so we'll see how that goes.
And are all of these stories that kind of have some note of experience in your past, or is it just stuff that kind of is also just coming as fiction?
The other than the stalker one, and then the other 2 I've already created, Rosie's Necklace and this one, those are kind of based off real topics, but the other ones are just completely made up.
Okay, cool. Yep. And so what are kind of your goals as a filmmaker, as a writer, as an actor?
Just keep having practice at acting and writing, here in Iowa, probably.
Wonderful.
As of now. We'll see if it goes anywhere.
Anything you want to plug at this time?
Go watch Suffer in Silence on YouTube. Follow Jams Productions. I created Jams Productions now, so I have a name for all my stuff. Follow Mediaverse Studios.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you want to say?
No, just I hope everybody has fun.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Allie. This was great. Okay, welcome back. And now we have Keaton Fuller and Phillip Plates.
Yes.
So, what are you guys showing at CRIFF today?
We have shown Friendly Faces, which is an 8-episode web comedy that is done by 8 different Iowa directors that we brought together about a rent-a-friend service. So it's our 2 leads, Ollie and Dean, played by Landon, Sheetz, and Mick Evans, who go from lonely person to lonely person in this fictional little town called Harmony and do whatever weird activity they want to do for the day. One time it's hanging out with a homicidal performance artist clown, and another time it's going on a double date with a guy and his ghost girlfriend, so you just never know where they're going to go.
So let's get some of your background, Keaton. Where are you coming from as a filmmaker?
I graduated from University of Iowa and was really focused on screenwriting specifically, and a couple years after graduation was wanting to dive into something where I could really hone my writing chops more, and wanted to operate in broad comedy while still working in more thoughtful, interesting themes. And so I spent about a year writing and rewriting Friendly Faces, trying to come up with a series of scripts that would be an easy sell to get people on board and excited about a project, which eventually we did. It always was a very easy pitch to show somebody, not to sound braggy, but it was really exciting to get to that point writing wise of being able to show somebody, here's 10 to 15 pages that I wrote. Are you interested in this? And most of the time getting a hard yes.
So it was always intended to be this massive collaboration. You wanted to bring in all these different directors and all these different cinematographers to kind of just make this kind of like large, just heart of Iowa series.
Yeah, there was a project that I had done a couple years before that it was very scrappy but very ambitious and made for $20 and a hot dog. That I had people at this exact festival who saw it, were excited about it, and said like, hey, we see what you're trying to do with absolutely nothing at your disposal and would like to help push that further. Wow. And so had a good core group of people who kind of put the wheels in motion to spur the show along initially. And after that project, I'd felt very burnt out.
Sure.
And realized I didn't want to do another large scale project unless there was a larger reason behind it, not just making something to make something, but with the actual intention of what if something was written in a format that allowed a lot of different talent to kind of come and go like a revolving door to showcase as many different Iowa filmmakers, actors, artists as possible. Yeah. And in the end, we have about 100 people credited to the series as a whole, which is really great to see.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to toss it over to Phillip. So what is your background and what is your kind of involvement in the project?
Yeah, absolutely. So I studied at Columbia College Chicago initially for film, switched over to television. So the marriage of kind of like a filmic setting for a kind of web series episodic was really interesting to me. But yeah, I've lived in Cedar Rapids for almost 15 years and enjoyed CRIFF, and same we were at that same kind of first CRIFF for your last production, and I just remember you really having that like light in your eyes of like there's like a community in Iowa that seems to have some untapped potential, and that's like, wouldn't it be great if there was a way to kind of get people working on a project together, and there are a lot of different groups that are kind of working on their own stuff, and so how can you like marry those. And so on Friendly Faces, I was a producer, but then a jack of all trades, also like an emotional support entity. I maybe trying to be a cheerleader to keep things going, but did a lot of location scouting and craft services and
set decoration.
Absolutely, you name it. I was trying to help support it.
Awesome.
So
We need those people, just all the things.
That's right.
Yes.
Nice. Okay, so Friendly Faces is huge, right? It's this massive effort. How did you just go about tackling this thing, and how long did it take?
I've said a few times it took way too damn long because I wrote the majority of it in 2018, and like I said, spent about a year trying to get those scripts to a place that I was really, really happy with before even thinking about shooting anything. And then in 2019, it became more about, assembling the Avengers to try to figure out who was going to fill all of the roles on the page and who was going to fill all of the roles off screen.
Right.
And that came together pretty quickly because people were excited about the project. And we started shooting July of 2019 on a 100-degree day in Washington, Iowa, outside, of course, while one of our leads is in full yellow suit and I'm mopping up forehead sweat between takes.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And so we were going along at a pretty good pace of doing about an episode a month or so from July 2019 to February 2020.
What happened there?
Schedules got crazy. Big old mess. No, we had a solid
pandemic.
There was a little something that happened in there. Yeah. No, but during the pandemic, by the time that rolled around, we had 5 episodes shot out of order, 3 that were missing, one of which was the final episode, so there was no real ending to the show, unless it just ended on a very downbeat note, which is all we had. And so there was a solid year and a half of wondering, well, we might never be able to finish this, and this might just have to live on a hard drive or get dumped on YouTube, sadly, at some point, because, what else are we going to do? And to everybody's credit, about mid-21, once, everybody's vaccinated, things are starting to calm down, and reaching out to everybody saying, hey, I'd really like to come back together and finish what we started. Everybody was on board and really gracious about making it work, even though it was twice as hard as the pre-pandemic episodes, just because everyone's lives had changed, priorities were different, schedules were different. And so we finally finished shooting about mid-22. And so it's really exciting to actually be to the point that we can show it to the world now after all this time. I remember setting out thinking, maybe a year or two. It's a big project, but shouldn't take more than 2 years tops. And here we are, 5 years later.
I would actually add to that just a little in terms of beyond the pandemic of it all, just the coordination to get everybody in the same room sometimes. It was fantastic to have the level of personal ownership of the project from all of the creatives involved, because it really was a passion project, not just for you. I think you kind of brought everybody on board and everybody felt a sense of ownership. And but even then, it's you aren't maybe expecting how many times things are going to go along great until one piece in the puzzle makes it feel like it's all going to fall apart, and that just it happens, and then you figure it out and you solve it and you're like, okay, thank goodness, and we're on a roll again, and then it happens again, and so it's just you're fighting as I think somebody said earlier at one of the screenings, it's just a matter of sheer willpower to get it to really work, and that was so true of this as well.
So how did you go about cultivating that passion and that resilience to get through COVID, and to continue on with this thing for everyone? You just kind of assembled, like you said, everyone twice now, got them all coordinated.
Yeah. Well, I was so proud of the work that we did pre-pandemic, that the idea of throwing that all away felt so wasteful, not only from our time, but the time of everybody who was involved, who had already poured so much love and care into this show, that it felt like it would be a disservice to everybody involved to just throw in the towel. And there were multiple meltdowns over the course of a few years of, this is stupid. This is the dumbest idea anybody's ever had, ever. And usually Phil, if not anybody else, coming along and saying, okay, you're being dramatic and need to calm the hell down. And
it was fun too to watch how some of the character arc of the characters in the show ended up being like the character arc of us trying to put the show together in terms of like overcoming these like emotional internal struggles and these things these fears that you have about yourself and your own imposter syndrome and your own, what are people going to think of me? I'm asking them for help again. And on this project that just seems to be taking such a long time. And so it's just like an interesting kind of mirroring there.
One of the biggest takeaways from having to assemble it twice is getting over the fear of being annoying. Because in order to make any kind of substantial creative project happen, you have to be so annoying. And
okay, that rings so true.
And I remember especially coming back mid-2021 and feeling like I was carrying around this corpse of a project at that point and being like, hey guys, want to come back? It was really vulnerable to say like, hey, I still really want to make this happen, even though this has not been on anybody's radar for so long. And you have to be willing to be that vulnerable to ask for help over and over and over again. And if you're somebody who is really resistant to asking for help, like myself, it becomes a form of self-flagellation over and over again. But we persist, we live, we laugh, we love.
What kind of resistance did you face to projects? At any I'm sure I know COVID was like this giant thing, but like what other, were there like production issues or people drop out, or like kind of what were some of the hurdles that you faced?
Scheduling was number one, because once we had everybody in a room together, things clicked really well. Like almost everybody worked really positively together, which was always rewarding once we got to that point. But this is a project with a lot of really talented and ambitious and therefore very busy people. So especially post-pandemic, getting all of those people into the same room at the same time would often be a process of email after email after email trying to figure out the
on this Saturday.
Yes.
6 hours on the Sunday so we can do it that weekend. And
yeah, but also just even some sensibilities changing over the course of the pandemic. We had one episode that we were slated to do that over the pandemic I threw in the trash because I just became really disenchanted with it overall and was like, this feels like how I felt a few years ago when I wrote it, but not how I feel at this point. And so I don't want to put everybody through the time and effort of doing that. Yes. And then came up with an entirely new episode, Stabby the Clown, in which one of our leads, Ollie, works with a homicidal performance artist clown with imposter syndrome, which a lot of that was just channeling my own pandemic anxiety of feeling like those couple of years had just rotted the creative part of my brain into feeling like, oh, maybe I just can't write or be creative or do anything worthwhile anymore. That I'm sure so many of us felt. And it's like, what if I just put all of that into a murder clown instead? That's what I'm saying. We're all murder clowns when you really boil it down.
Man, so approaching the writing to this, there's a lot to it, right? There's so many almost like different genres, but like just different, I don't know, characters and worlds that you built. How do I want to ask this question? How did you harness all of that weirdness? How did you craft these stories? What inspiration did you draw from, and how did you get it to the page?
setting out, I had a really specific idea with the arc that I wanted for the two lead characters, Ollie and Dean.
Okay.
And I knew that the series as a whole was tackling the idea of loneliness and how people get to a point that they're really socially isolated, and how do you pull yourself out of that. And with the character of Dean, we're looking at that from a self-imposed isolation, where he, for various reasons, feels that he doesn't deserve good, authentic social connections, and that he's a plague to other people rather than an asset. And for Ollie, it was that he poured his entire being and all of his social energy into one specific person and nobody else. And then once that person is gone, then he's left listless and stranded. And so I knew that from the outset, knew that I wanted the two of them to develop a close bond with one another. And from there came up with a lot of different potential episodes, and started cobbling them together from what felt like it would fit thematically with the characters' journeys, so that we could grow with them through the different clients.
What were some that didn't make the cut?
There was, well, the one that was written in full was this episode called Gay Brunch, which was a solo Ollie episode.
Okay.
And it was one that I realized over the course of the pandemic that I was inadvertently, as a gay man, channeling a lot of internalized homophobia into this episode. Gotcha. And then reading it back in 2020, I was like, oh, this isn't me anymore, and I don't like this.
Sure.
Wow. So some of that was just growth, but others, I mean, there's almost going to be a LARPing episode.
Dean's sister.
Yes, there's a really vulnerable episode centered around Dean and his estranged sister that took several different forms. At one point, he was visiting this woman who had the delusion that she was hosting a morning talk show in her living room, and then he ended up being the guest.
Okay.
It was called Lola Like. That was her catchphrase.
It's like a youth pastor potential there too. Like, yeah, just a bunch of different, like, I think you had to like package and play around with like what makes the most sense to create the right amount of tension in that character arc for Dean, and it took you a while to really circle around what would best tell that story.
Yeah, that was really difficult in how it took many forms. There was the cool youth pastor episode that just didn't really ring true for the situation and felt really forced. Right. So it was good to finally land on what that was, which is The Wishing Well, directed by Bruce Bales, which feels like an especially intimate special episode. And he really helped bring the entire show to this higher emotional plane than I think it could have been otherwise, because he was just very zeroed into what emotionally is making these characters work.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so how has the audience reception been so far?
It's been incredibly positive. Yeah, we've now screened a good number of times. We had a premiere screening for cast, crew, friends, and family last summer, and have done, struggling to think, Houston Comedy Festival, Atlanta Comedy Festival, the Oneota Film Festival in Decorah, where we got to screen a good chunk of the series. And then here, people have responded really well, and a couple of the most positive things to hear. One, that it's emotionally crept up on people, which was a lot of the intention, to very much set it out in the first couple episodes of, okay, this is a fun, silly, goofy, colorful, loud show, but then slowly weave in more of an emotional arc throughout that all of a sudden towards the end you're like, but why am I crying now? That, and also people who've seen it multiple times now, catching new things each time. We're really focused on wanting to pack in a lot of joke density.
Nice.
both in dialogue and in just visual jokes that are happening. And so people who've seen it a few times now, it's fun to hear like what they're catching in set design or props or a little ad lib that was muttered by one of the actors.
Love that. What's next for this show?
Right now, I'm focused on trying to start setting out to find some sort of distribution for it, find a nice cozy little home for it that is easily accessible for people to watch, enjoy, and see over and over again. That and the festival run, which we've got a lot of submissions out there that we'll be hearing back through this spring and summer, and it'll be fun to keep taking it on the road.
Is there a season 2 in the works?
I don't see a season 2.
No?
Because if you'd asked me a couple of years ago, because there are ideas for a season 2, but that was before one season took 5 years.
That's fair.
And so
Say no, right? With the right mix of the right circumstances,
he's
gonna say no.
No, it can be self-contained. That's very valid.
I wrote it to be very self-contained, but there could be more if the opportunity presented itself. You know, if Mr. Netflix came by with a blank check and said, "What do you need? What do you need for season 2?" Hell yeah! But otherwise, I emotionally feel very ready to move on to a new world, new characters, new scenario.
Are you building that?
I just started to have a little kernel of an idea in the last couple of weeks that I'm excited about. So it'd be smaller and more intimate, but still goofy as hell.
That's what we. Yeah.
What's your whole thing? Bright dark.
Bright dark, tackling tackling dark topics with a smile.
All right.
Yes.
What's next for you, Phillip?
I really just love the opportunity to get involved in these types of projects. So I don't have any specific projects that I'm working on, but just being around this community and being able to be involved and stay in touch with some of the awesome creatives that we have. Try to keep doing some of that, I suppose. Yeah.
We have a whole gang of just brilliant people.
Isn't it awesome?
It's so great, man.
So but it's still hidden. So, it's like kind of, I think this was one of the ways we were thinking, how do you make it less hidden? How do you get people more connected? And so it's really like, how do we keep doing that? So.
Oh, and that was one thing that was especially exciting to be a part of in representing the show in the Atlanta Comedy Festival. Almost everybody else is there with projects from much bigger cities with much bigger budgets, and being able to stand alongside them and talk about our show and see the look of surprise in people's eyes and like, oh, you're from Iowa? Why? And
why is this so good?
And being able to, say, yeah, we have a ton of very talented people in Iowa and they deserve a showcase for their work. And that's what I wanted to do with the show, was create something that allowed a lot of different people to put their own creative stamp on it into this beautiful collection of a ton of talented Iowans all together.
I love that so much. Anything you guys want to pitch, plug, talk about?
Support the show. On Instagram, we're Friendly Faces Show. Also on Facebook, we've got a website, friendlyfaces.show, to follow everything that we're up to, and when we eventually start rolling it out into a format that people can see it. That's what I've got to plug. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I just say the show tackles some complex, dark topics, and it's just always a good reminder that there's, help out there for people who are dealing with emotional trauma and distress, and so never feel afraid to reach out for it. Yeah.
Any last thoughts?
That's all I got.
All right.
That's it.
Keaton, Phillip, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Enjoy the rest of
Jake.
the festival.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you so much for doing that.